Welcome back, beautiful people. Three Amigos podcast here. Chris, Frankie, Anthony, all three of us for the first time in a long time, but we're back.
Pew, pew,
We're talking
pew.
about WrestleMania 39 just wrapped up, and it was one heck of a show. Some people loved it. Some people loved it up until the last 5 minutes. Frankie and Anthony, we'll start with you guys. What were your initial reactions from the show?
Hey, why don't you go first? Because you're more of the casual viewer. I think more people are casuals nowadays. No one's a purist too much.
So a couple of things were interesting. They have the whole Hollywood theme, so I understand why certain things were like, or certain people were there. Like Snoop Dogg was there, Kevin Hart did a whole thing, so I was like, okay, whatever. Match wise, um, some matches that I thought I wouldn't care about ended up being pretty entertaining, like the men's tag four-way match.
Mhm.
Um, that was pretty damn interesting. I got my thoughts about the main event for night two, but night one was very interesting with certain matches that were worth watching. Ray versus Dominic was good. Um, you got the main event obviously with the Sammy and Kevin versus the Usos. Happy to see that Rhea did her thing that night and won the belt. Night two was interesting. It was definitely a shorter one, right? It wasn't as long as night one. Or at least it
Yeah,
didn't feel as long. I don't know.
no, it definitely wasn't that long.
I also didn't know it was gonna start at like 8 o'clock in our time, so I was like, oh, I have a lot of time before it starts. So,
Hmm.
um, couple of things, because as a casual, I missed so many things leading up. Like I had no idea that Sheamus and Drew were beefing. Um,
Yeah,
I definitely missed all that stuff. I thought Bobby Lashley had an open challenge. Did he not have an open challenge for somebody?
I don't know what happened with that. I think they just cut it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
So, I mean, not much else to say other than, I think it might have been, with the exception of last year's, the only other WrestleMania that I've seen live, like ever. Um, so it was an interesting one. Definitely some matches that are kind of forgettable as any pay-per-view would have, and some where I was kind of hoping for a different outcome, but we'll get into that later.
sure.
How about you, Frankie? What do you think?
It's been a long time that I've sat down and watched a WrestleMania. I think from start to finish. Um, it was a good time. It was a good time. Definitely recommend seeing it with people. I feel like, especially if you can try to watch it with like other wrestling fans, even if they can be a little much. Night one, me, Chris, and another friend of ours, we uh, we saw it at a bar, and it was fun. That was fun, especially the main event of night one. That was a nice pop. I thought the show overall was a success. I know people, like you said at the beginning of the start of the show, not everyone's gonna like the direction. Not everyone's gonna like the outcome, the booking decisions. Having followed this since pretty much day one and continuing to follow it from a distance, never gone live to see the shows and see the bloodline, unfortunately. Which I don't know why we didn't try. Well, I guess not for not trying, but it's just some of these shows can be really late, and we got lives
Yeah.
after. Like, I mean, we're traveling far to get to these shows and out in like Brooklyn, man, that traffic ain't fun. But point is, like, look, it it was a great time. And the booking decisions again aren't going to speak to everybody, but we being there since day one, just you and I, especially Chris, we can appreciate the story. We may not be huge fans of it, but we've seen how Hunter works. He is a long term storytelling man. This is the longest story I think WWE has had in a very very long time.
One of the
And it,
longest stories in wrestling in a
yeah,
very
and
long time.
which is something also that you pointed out, and I definitely had noted, but glad you said it because I wasn't crazy. And I think we'll save it for later or for another day. But it's just like, I think fans are just not used to long term booking, and this is why, you're seeing some negative reactions. Um, They said that everyone kept saying Drew was a mistake. I got you. I felt they could have called an audible and they should have done it. Didn't happen. Whatever. Sammy we thought should have won, and I wanted him to win. Didn't happen. And then Cody, and then honestly, for me, you definitely called it too, Chris. When like he just came, and then it wasn't his fault that he got hurt. It wasn't his fault,
No, no.
But it just felt really weird that he only had a handful of matches, and then he's gonna be the guy to dethrone one of the longest reigning champions in modern day history. And for this era, no, it just didn't feel right. If anything, it should have been Sammy, but they did miss that. And me personally, they did miss that chance, but it wasn't meant to be. And I think it was the right decision not for Cody to win. Now I'm talking about night two, and night two was good. I thought it was good. It wasn't that amazing. It was definitely not better than night one. So, you know, it's tough. It's like it's tough to be a fan too, and like what me putting myself in other people's shoes. Like it's tough to and feel like, yeah, like you're tired of Roman, but also we lived through an era of Roman being pushed as a vanilla babyface who had no charisma. His movesets were pretty much John Cena level of, ooh wow, Superman punch, spear, 1 2 3.
To be fair, that is still most of his moveset. It's pretty much the same.
Yes. However, he's a heel now, and it makes much more sense. And I
Yeah.
get it. People still he's shoving down our throats. I'm like, trust me, I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm not. No, I guess you don't have to trust me, but best believe in a few months, had Cody won, few months down the line, you're gonna feel the same way of a vanilla cone, plain old vanilla cone babyface Cody Rhodes being shoved down your throat and getting a brain freeze. Because there's nothing to it other than he can talk. I love Cody, but besides that, his best work, in my opinion, is better as a heel. And there's no arguing that, honestly, because some of his best work in ROH, New Japan, was because he was a heel. The American Nightmare thing was because he was a heel.
Yeah.
That's how he started it off. He has more flavor. He has more toppings on that cone when he's a heel. So there's a lot of ways they could do this. Obviously, we just got to wait and be patient. I get some people are tired of being patient. Me personally, I thought I would be impatient, but no, I want to see where it goes, and then I'll make my final decision there. For others, yes, their final decision would have been at the grandest stage of them all, which makes sense. But there's still other big ones, and there's still time for this to play out, because this is an ongoing season. This is played out in seasons. That's how kind of wrestling has been working now for a numerous amount of years. It's like this is a new season. Did the same story roll over into this season? Usually they can. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what's going to happen. But it's fun seeing the backlash, though. It's kind of funny. Everyone's like, oh, I'm tired. Well, weren't you tired and done over like last year or 2 years ago? Why are you still here?
Yeah, surely you must be exhausted. Why are you still watching?
Yeah, why are you still watching, man? Turn it off. Unsubscribe or block everything WWE. Throw away your title. Sell them to me. But what do you think, man? Like, I want to pick your brain. We didn't get much to chat about it.
I really liked it. I really liked the show overall. I don't really subscribe to the whole like which night was better than the other night because it's all the same show. So to me, I'm just like top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like most of the matches were pretty good, and I thought, like Anthony said, some of the matches that I probably wasn't really that interested in ended up being like either passable or like way better than I was expecting.
Right.
Especially like both of the like fatal four-way tag matches. The women's match was good. It's just that the fans just didn't give a shit. But the match itself like was actually pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought top to bottom it was a really strong show. I think that a lot of the feuds going in kind of just weren't that interesting.
Yeah.
Luckily, the people involved in the feuds were all really good wrestlers because that totally saved the end of the feud, I guess, of a lot of these matches. Charlotte
Right.
Rhea, Bianca Asuka, Gunther, Sheamus, Walter. I'm not really sure what they were fighting about leading up to the match, but the match was awesome. Yeah, even Brock and Omos was like not as much of a train wreck as I thought it would be, which is mostly because Brock Lesnar was in the match. But
That was
yeah,
match of the night, right? That was match of the night.
oh, easily, easily a match of the year. Honestly, why are we even
Okay.
like just shut it down now? Yeah, I thought it was a really strong show. I know that a lot of people are very, uh, I mean, seemingly like actually visceral anger
Yeah.
over the end of the Roman Cody match. I heard that the people in the bloodline were getting death threats, which
Come on.
doesn't surprise me because the internet is full of psychopaths who just take shit way too seriously.
Yeah, now you're just ruining everything. Come on, guys, don't do that.
Dude, yeah, I I mean, about a week ago, I made two videos. I had this idea
Hmm.
that I wanted to make a video about why Roman should win, and then I wanted to make a video about why Cody should win. I made those videos literally back to back, like just kept recording and then cut
Yeah.
them into two.
Hmm.
But the only reason I did it was because I thought it really felt like a match that could go either way. Realistically, I thought believably that match could go either way. Um, and to my surprise, way more people clicked on the video about Roman or why I thought he should win at WrestleMania than the Cody video.
I'm surprised there were not more opinions in the comments. I'm surprised you didn't get any death threats. Like, how dare you disrespect
I
Cody
didn't. I
and the
don't read the
Huber family?
comments of a lot of the wrestling videos because the people get so
It
psychotic.
wasn't that bad. It was like, perfectly tamed,
A
honestly.
lot of thumbs up. I was surprised. I was like, "Whoa, okay." But I didn't feel like I made any crazy. It wasn't a crazy reason. My main
No,
reason was that I didn't know how a respectful way to say it, but I didn't think it was Cody's time yet. I don't want to say
yeah,
he doesn't deserve it because
no,
cumulatively speaking, he deserves a championship.
and he's a draw. He's
Mhm.
Yeah,
definitely a draw.
but from a WWE standpoint, I'm not giving him a title based on him creating AEW. Like
No.
this is Cody before he left and Cody since he came back. If you combine those two timelines, I don't think he's ready to be champion. I don't think there's enough there.
Hmm.
I thought there was more longevity in having him lose. Even I don't even know if it was so much of like it was a little bit of Roman winning because I felt like Roman needed a non Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn person to beat, and he
Hmm.
needed someone like very credible. And I felt like Cody had been built up to be like a credible threat, which was a complaint from a lot of people over the last few years was that Roman didn't have enough credible threats, even though he beat Edge, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, like Brock Lesnar. I thought, okay, it seemed
Drew
like
many
a lot
times.
of credible people, but whatever.
Drew
Um,
McIntyre.
but I don't know. I guess I'm a little surprised at like the legitimate anger of people after because of the finish of the match. Because like I mean, we talked about this a while ago, but like when we were growing up, a lot of the heels that we watched won their matches the same way every time. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
ref distraction, ref bump, foreign object, the guy wins. Like
Yeah,
that
but
was
how many of
just
those guys
how
had a bunch of dudes who come in and sucker punch somebody?
yeah, the edge heads, bro. Like
Yeah, that's
unless
one
it was Taker
guy.
at Mania, like the edge heads got involved all the time. Edge cheated
JB
all the
JBL
time.
cheated all the time. All these heels cheated all the time. And they had
Yeah.
either some of them didn't have a posse, oh well, but some of them did, and that's how they won. I'm sure he'll CM Punk won a few like the chicken shit heels, and when he had his like, his posse too.
Yeah, I'm like when Sami Zayn, well, I guess when Drew McIntyre lost, excuse me, I remember a lot of people saying like, "Oh, they missed their chance. Like, if you, how could you not pull the trigger? He's in his hometown. Like, this was the time to do it. Mind you, Drew had already been WWE champion before. Like, this wasn't like this is the first time ever he was going to win the title. And I remember we did that video, and I was like, no, I think it's good that he lost. Like, I think it's good
Yeah.
that an outcome happened where you feel genuine like disappointed emotion over
Mm-hmm.
a predetermined outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually when we would watch WWE, we stopped caring about who was champion of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like US, Intercontinental, Women's, it didn't matter. Just like did not care anymore.
Because there was a madman in charge.
Exactly. But then like when Roman beat Sammy, like I didn't really feel anything when Drew lost. I was like, yeah, it would have been cool, but like it's already been champion a few times. Like whatever, it's fine. They'll go back to Scotland. When Sammy lost, I felt actually sad. Like
Yeah, you were very sad.
legitimate like sadness as if I was, I mean, I was watching a character on a TV show like go through a sad event where he just like the outcome that I wanted didn't happen. And so I guess I felt that like people were shitting on the end of the match, like all of a sudden saying like this WrestleMania went from a great WrestleMania to terrible because of the outcome of the Cody and Roman match. And I was like, just because the guy you wanted to win didn't win doesn't mean the whole pay-per-view and like the whole match was a disaster. Like, because by that logic, you're saying that if they had won, the match would have been fine. So the same match would have taken place, but because your guy lost, the match was bad, and if he had won, it would have been good. That's just not a logical argument to me. And like now, I'm more interested in Cody, like because he spent the last like 3 weeks telling one member of the bloodline that that person wasn't ready, and it feels like he spent all that time and he didn't stop to think if he was ready. And then he lost and he failed. And like he needs the failure. Like the character of Cody Rhodes hasn't had he just won the Rumble. He hasn't had any failures, like undefeated. Didn't he beat Seth 3 times in a row?
Yeah, yeah, that was like bothered me a bit. That also that was during Vince's era, obviously still. Yeah. He beat him like 3 times in a row. It was
He,
stupid.
See,
yeah,
because
like I don't
my
know. It just I
so my
think
thing is because you guys know Sammy's career a lot better than I do.
mhm.
And just for me being a super casual, I don't think Sammy has earned the spot to be champion in the way that like let's say when Kofi Kingston was champion, he put in that work and time to be, in that spot. And with Sammy, I just felt people wanted him to be champion because of the whole bloodline thing. With Cody, I see the point of he's not ready type of mindset point of view. But at the same time, I see why do all this build up of him coming back, him getting injured, him coming back again, him winning the Rumble, him trying to honor his father, him trying to win that championship for his father, and then have him lose it at Mania to the guy who can't even win a match on his own.
I mean that's easy because that's just good story. Or if you want to, some people are gonna disagree, like you, is like it's bad story and bad booking, which is not because with Sammy he got over organically, and to you that you don't may not know what that means, but over the time when someone just starts cheering for you because not because they think it's silly, not because they think it's cool, but because they actually like you and because the very idea of you being around and cheering for you, that is money. That is money making. That is star making. Sammy has always been a great wrestler. He's always been like a star. But what everything he did with the bloodline was Daniel Bryan levels of stuff. It was Shawn Michaels levels of cheering, DX level, John Cena when before everybody hated him levels of cheering. That's what you capitalize when, and that's what Vince has always tried to capitalize on. But obviously, he wants that to come from him. That was his idea. There's a lot of backstage politics that go into it, but typically it was Vince handpicks you, and if he picked you correctly, you organically got over, and sometimes that wasn't the truth. That played out on screen, and if it didn't happen organically, he'll make it happen. Organically is better than force, obviously, but if Vince wasn't the one picking you and it didn't happen, it wasn't going to happen. Some people have gone over on their own. never become stars because Vince won't allow it. Vince was never going to allow Sammy to get over, and he was ready to bury him, as reports say. Who knows? But once things happened, Sammy kept getting over, and only got hotter and hotter and hotter. And then it we told you, like we talked about how when he betrayed Roman, the sound, like, busted, the audio busted in for the production crew. That's genuine, cool, amazing, organically getting over. He has put in the work. He has done the job, and he got over with the fans, not by doing anything other than being himself, and that's amazing, and that's not seen as much anymore, you know. So that in standards, we already knew that he was more over than Cody, and once Cody came back, we people kind of booed him still when he came back. So that's the telling sign of who the fans want. And typically, when Vince was in charge, what the fans wanted, they never got. In fact, he'd shit on them. He would just purposely shit on him. Oh, you want this guy? Well, too bad. They did notoriously did that to Brian. Just hung him out to dry, just so they can, you know, he can have a laugh at it. And it's like, yeah, you're not, guys aren't getting it. Until it was like just bothering him, and he would just roll his eyes. And fine, that happened with Brian, and that happened with Kofi. They got over organically because that's what the fans wanted, and Triple H is listening to that. He knows Sammy got over organically. However, he's got stuck in his conundrum, especially with the unification titles. If it wasn't for that, both Cody and Sammy, in my opinion, would be champion if it wasn't for the unification. But that's Vince's fault, and that's we can't touch that because we can't say what ifs because it's what's happening. It is what it is. But to you being a casual, if you ever said that statement to like a more us who are more deeply involved, like, I don't think Sammy deserves it. What has he done? Like, you would get annihilated with that comment. And I know you would get heated if it was like, well, but it's cool. It's fine. It's okay to be a casual. You see this guy, and some people like, who is this homeless ginger from Canada? Like, who is this guy? Well, this guy's over. It's what he is. And that's, people want to see him, and people want him. People in other countries wanted him. He got over in a country where if he were to proclaim what he stands for, he'd be dead or in jail. So that says a lot about someone's character and personality, not just purely on a television standpoint, but also just on like a humanistic standpoint and outside of wrestling, because he does a lot of charity work outside of it too. So that man deserves it. I'm glad he got at least a WrestleMania moment with KO, because I know they're really good friends. They're practically brothers, obviously. So, I got a little emotional seeing that. So I'm happy they got that at least. But Cody's going to be fine. He's got the look. He's got the family. He's got the dog. He'll bounce back, and he does. It's not like, again, Chris has said it. It's not like he doesn't deserve it. He will get his, and it'll be emotional. It'll be great. And Dad's going to be very proud from the heavens. It's just not right now. And that's okay. Got to be patient as well. And
So
also,
I think the championships have an identity crisis for casuals, in the sense that when I think of champion, I don't see Sami Zayn as champion based on like skill and physique. And to me, champion screams like those guys who can, bring it and bring like a good show based on like what they can do in the ring in terms of like their power and strength, which is why you have people like Roman, Drew, Cody, Brock, Bobby. So I think it's also make like an old school mindset of like someone like Sammy can be champion because of his like, whether it's a lack of power or his skill set differs from those powerhouses. And then you have those who are not powerhouses who's been champions in the past, but they also brought something much more spectacle to, like, let's say to my eyes, like Rey Mysterio, Jeff Hardy.
Sure.
I've always hated CM Punk. I never felt CM Punk ever should have been champion of anything because he thinks he's better than everyone at everything, and a lot of people don't like CM Punk at all. But you have those other champions who are so like, they're either very powerful powerhouses, or they're really skilled high flyers like Michaels and Ray and Jeff. And then people like Sammy is like, to me they're in the middle. So like, do they really fit as champion just because they got the crowd to support them? Or if he had became champion and beat Roman, how far can he realistically carry that championship? Or does it not matter how far he takes it? What matters is that he wins the championship.
I mean, it really depends on what the story the fans dictate because like, that's how it used to be. You had a baby face who you cheered, and you had the villain that you booed. Foreign heel always got booed. American babyface always got cheered. Pretty simple. Except this guy, and it's just not just this guy. It's just wrestling has changed and evolved, man. It's like not everybody wants to see that chiseled dude. Not everybody wants to see John Cena 2.1, 2.0, 3.45. They want someone. That's why Brian got over it. It's under 6 feet. You know, he was under
Right.
6 feet. He's not gonna power slam or pick up a lot of these dudes, but he's entertaining. He can go in the ring. It's just in a different style, and he can tell a story in his own way. And if his own way gets over with the fans, and that says a lot about you. It's like you can control a crowd, not with just your talking, but with your in ring work. Sammy has always been an in-ring worker. You should watch his match with Shinsuke when Shinsuke first debuted. Amazing match. His wars with KO when it was face versus heel. Sammy's been a heel for a long time, and everybody forgot how good of a wrestler he was because he was kind of put in a manager role because of Vince. So that's not his fault. That's Vince's fault because he didn't see much about Sammy, but Sammy is just on a different level mentally wise, and he knows how to work a crowd. You could argue it's on even better than Cody, especially in this last year. So with Sammy, it's like people they see Daniel Bryan again, except he also happens to be taller, talks probably a bit better than Bryan, and is younger than Bryan. He's just different, and that's what they like. They want something different. They don't want Reigns anymore. They don't want Cena anymore. They don't want a Braun Strowman. It's boring. It's cut and paste classic. We want a Rey Mysterio. We want Eddie Guerrero again. By your standards of or from that casual viewpoint, that then Eddie should never have been champion material, but he was at least deemed by the higher ups and by fans. They did see him to be champion, and they wanted him to be champion, and they wished that he was champion again. Sadly, that never happened, but that's one example. Some of us are calling for Ray to have one more run because it would did dirty before. Not on one occasion, but a few occasions, because Vince never saw anything in him, even though his in-ring worked the crowd. Wasn't great on the mic, but his in-ring work did the talking for him, and that's what people loved. So it really boils down to what the fans want, and the fans want Sammy. And yes, I get it. Like some people argue, it's like, well, it's more so like they just want Roman to lose. Well, that's not true because those reactions that Sammy was getting, that wasn't based off Roman losing. It was based off just Sammy being Sammy. He got the word Usi over. When you get a word over, you're doing something right. So WrestleMania is post WrestleMania is gonna be very interesting. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but we've talked a lot about this. So Chris, what do you think is gonna? Well, first of all, before I forget, what was your guys' favorite matches?
Or what?
Favorite matches?
Mine was probably uh man, it's really hard to pick like a definitive favorite, so I'm just gonna give like the matches that I enjoyed the most. Charlotte Rhea, Cody Roman, triple threat for the IC belt, Walter Sheamus Drew, and the Sammy and KO versus the Usos.
Mm. Okay.
I think Rhea and Charlotte was like the match that I wasn't expecting to really care about, and then like 5 minutes in, everybody at the bar all of a sudden was like super locked in. We were like, oh shit, these two are actually like
going
putting on a classic. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, I
so
agree.
mine would be the four-way tag with the guys and the Rhea and Charlotte one. For the guys one mainly because I haven't seen most of those guys perform.
Hmm.
So just to see some of those guys, like those Vikings, I've never seen them before do a match, like 'cause, I'm casual.
Hmm.
Um, I like Otis in the sense of like I just think he's funny and like just the stuff that like the whole caterpillar thing that he does, which he didn't do it, but like I don't know, just seeing Alpha Academy is kind of funny to me. Um, and Braun Strowman, just seeing someone like that freakishly like huge, just do some cool things. There was that. The Sheamus and Drew match. Um, I've been a fan of Sheamus for like since back then. Like I always been like kind of a fan of him, a fan of Drew. Um, but I did had a question about things with changing about wrestling and what like and a thought of like would should this thing happen as a potential change or it shouldn't happen at all, which is tag team championships for teams of three to be like a new thing.
Well, it's
And the
always
reason
been a
why,
thing. It's just WWE doesn't want to adopt that.
right? So they only have like the two belts, and
Mhm.
with some of these teams of threes, you have Judgment Day got three guys, you got Imperium, you got New Day. Toxic Attraction has three members on the team, or they used to. I don't know if they still do or not. Um, Becky has Lita and Trish could, if they're gonna stay in for a while, whatever. But there's a few teams of three, both male and females, that like should they do three belts for tags in the future and still keep the two belts for those two wrestler teams, or just keep it as hey, if we're a team of three, two of us will be tags, and the third one will be like intercontinental or
Yeah.
main.
I would love to have this conversation further, but due to time, but just to humor you, it's like trio tag titles have existed for a while. Chris doesn't like them, and I don't mean to speak for him, but
No,
uh,
that's true. I
I'd say
don't.
he doesn't like trio titles. I've in Mexico. There's even as high as four team champions, so quads.
Stop.
Um,
Stop it. Stop
so
it.
I'm giving Tony Khan all the idea. So Tony Khan at AEW has trios championships. ROH was I think the first North American promotion to adopt trios titles. So yeah, trios titles are a thing and people like it. I've always loved them in Mexico. So I'm happy they're here. I just don't think it belongs in WWE because then WrestleMania is going to be too long. And it already is too long because now there's two women titles, and they had a cruiserweight title again at one point, and I'm kind of happy it's gone, even though I love cruiserweights.
Yeah, it's
But
too
there's
many belts.
too many
It's just
belts,
too
and
many
there's a
Well,
belts.
stigma.
technically three, because two main women's and then a women's tag.
Yeah,
Well,
which
yeah,
are
that
yeah. It's
Which
just it's
they're
too
not
many
doing
belts.
anything. They're not doing anything with it. They mean nothing. That's why Sasha quit and Naomi's gone too.
Yeah.
So yeah, trios. It's not something WWE should adopt. It's unless they're gonna go all in. If they're gonna do it, at least put it on like NXT or something. But I don't think it's gonna happen. I like the idea. You make great points. There is factions for trios to that would work great. My favorite faction in AEW has the trios titles now, and I'm more than I'm ecstatic about it. Other people not so much because there's too many belts. So,
What about
uh,
you, Frankie? Match of
um,
the night, match of the weekend?
yeah, it's gonna. I could probably say it was definitely Rhea and Charlotte. And as much as I respect Charlotte, I don't like her character. No, it's the same shit. There's nothing. There's like nothing. She's just the queen.
It's
Like,
like Bianca Belair, except she
yeah,
lost, I guess. It's the only difference. Fucking Bianca never
yeah.
loses.
It's funny because I think Bianca's best work in NXT was being a heel. Now she's just Cena, female Cena, vanilla
Yeah.
babyface. I keep saying that word. I know people are gonna hate it, but it's hard. It's hard,
It's
but
hard to not be a vanilla babyface, to be fair, because
to be
heels
yeah.
can like be assholes and have like three-dimensional
Mhm.
characters, and babyfaces all have to be like, I'm gonna win the right way, and like I'm
I
gonna
guess
beat you and pin you. Like
there's also I guess anti-hero babyface, which kind of like what CM Punk brought to the table.
Adam Cole was a good like
Adam Tweener,
So
AJ.
dickhead. Yeah.
So hold on. Before like the match was gonna happen with Rhea and Charlotte, I I didn't know what to think, and I wasn't gonna knock it off. In fact, in my head, I'm like, this probably could be a banger, and I'm so happy it was a banger because Rhea is talented, and she's only gotten better since she debuted. So I'm very happy for her. I hope it gets a 5 stars and it gets immortalized. It should be immortalized, and it's probably one of the best women's matches ever. Um, So yeah, honestly, that's probably my match of the night, match of the week. And mixed in there is going to be Cody and Roman with the tag match of Sammy and KO winning. That was a nice moment.
Yeah.
Um, moment of but like one thing I guess I'll throw out there. Moment of the week was Ray riding in a low rider and Viva la Raza playing. Oh, my heart.
That was great. I'm sorry. I have to give it to Dominic's entrance before him.
I
His
knew you were
thought it
gonna
was
say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
dude, that entrance
That
where
was great too.
he has to get like taken from a maximum security prison
Yeah.
and gets a full prison escort
Yeah.
handcuffed down to the ring.
Yeah.
Look, I loved hearing Eddie's music and seeing Ray in the lowrider, but a guy whose gimmick was that he was locked up in like county jail for one night
Mm-hmm.
to turn that into getting transported from a maximum security prison in order for his WrestleMania match. Fantastic. Coming out in his dad's mask. Oh man.
Yeah.
Also, he looks good in the Rey Mysterio mask. Man, he
Yeah.
should wear
Well,
that eventually.
he should wear it when he turns back as a vanilla baby face.
God damn it.
Or he could
No,
be a
there's
heel
no
with the mask.
turning back for Dom. He's a hardened criminal, man. Once
Yeah.
jail changes you, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Jail
get it.
changes you.
What was your least, I guess, like least memorable and less like not?
The women, the 3-on-3 shouldn't
Mm.
even been on the show.
Did they
The
have a pre-show
Becky,
this year?
Lita
No, right? Yeah.
time. Total
Yeah.
waste of time. Also, further evidence that the women's tag belts are completely meaningless because they were not even defended. Or was that
Yeah. No,
a
they weren't
mat
defending.
titles? Like it was
They
three
weren't
on three,
defending.
but they had two of them were the tag.
Yeah. Don't think
Just get
about
rid
it.
of those
Just
belts.
don't think about it.
Yeah.
At least everything of the night, week for you, my friend Anthony, the casual Olan.
Can't really think about it now. Because that tag match was just kind of, I didn't really pay attention. It was just,
It was just
well,
there.
I paid
Yeah.
attention for a reason, but like other than that, like it's just,
Yeah, I think we
I'll
all
throw
did.
another one out there real quick. I guess I'd put this under the disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena, Austin Theory.
Oh shit!
oh yeah.
Kind of
Damn.
a 10-minute match that just
I think
fell super flat.
we can make a whole video how like John definitely was not allowed to
Yeah.
do much because he's doing a movie or something and told him he can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a comment, but it's not enough time to talk about it because it's gonna go into a whole nother discussion. It was about
Yeah.
the thing you said about Charlotte and Bianca. So
Yeah.
I'll just save it for later.
All right.
Yeah.
Um,
Disappointing. Also, sorry, but Bobby Lashley deserved better. I know we touched
I
on
know.
it briefly.
I
He
know,
got
man.
totally hosed. Also, that segment was super awkward. He comes out like fucking carrying the Andre the
Which is
Giant
very
trophy.
impressive. Which is very impressive.
Yeah, but then he like puts it on the stage and like poses. Then he looked like he was gonna walk to the ring with it, and then was like, "Never mind, this shit's actually really heavy and this ramp's really long." And then he stood there again, and then it was over. And I was like, "Damn, bro,
Yeah.
I feel bad for you."
We feel bad for everyone who didn't get to see WrestleMania this weekend, but that's gonna do it, ladies and gentlemen. Three Amigos podcast here. Anthony Olan, Christopher Langsdorff, and myself, Frankie Rodriguez. Happy to be back, 3 for 3, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.